everyone, I hope you're all doing so well and having an amazing week, and welcome to this oil painting and chill session of this painting entitled The Dragon on the Hill. I do hope you like it. I finally got around to painting a dragon. So much for your wonderful comments on my last video. This week's weekly shout out goes to Lunar Sky Art. I will leave a link to the amazing channel below, so please check it out. And if you're new, please subscribe to me. I would be most grateful. And like and comment. There'll be a speed paint of this painting and it's upside down, of this painting at the end of this video. And I will discuss how I created it in a moment. I just thought I'd quickly chat about, before I begin, Velasquez, because I have had this little medium sitting around for quite some time now. This is the Velasquez Medium by Rublev. I'm just going to bring this up to camera. Now, I didn't use this medium in this painting, but this is going to be a future review. So I thought I'd do kind of like my little first impressions on this medium, because I haven't used it enough to sort of give it a like full-on review. If you don't know who Velasquez is, he is a Spanish artist of the 17th century, considered by many people to be one of the greatest artists of all time, if not the greatest artist. He's not studied, I don't think, enough in England. I feel at least when I was studying art, he was only really briefly touched upon. But his art is really renowned, it's known throughout the world, so I don't know why there's not as much information on him as there should be. Velasquez is really well known for his portraiture. He was really able to capture the subject matter that he was depicting in the most not only realistic way, with a high level of technical skill, because he was incredibly gifted as an artist, but he also managed to invoke an amazing amount of expression and soul of the person that he was painting. He painted a lot of Spanish royalty, and what was so distinctive about his art was this kind of thick paint and strong brush stroke. Medium is named by the great artist himself, and what it's meant to do is to give you long brush strokes so you can create that really nice thick impasto look to your paintings. It gives your paint body, and so you're able to create this beautiful thick effect. You often hear artists talking about they really want to paint with body or with thickness. And so if you're an artist that is interested in that type of effect, then you may want to look into this. As a very intriguing medium. I don't want to give my final thoughts yet, because I've only tried it on one painting so far, and it's this still life that I worked on, and I'm just going to show you close up. I don't know whether you can see, probably you can see now actually, that's the paint here, particularly on these sort of areas with the grapes and the jar here and the peach. Have very strong defined brush marks, and this medium allows for that. It also allows the paint to really thicken up, have more of a structural look. So if you like that sort of creating a 3D effect with your paints in its kind of thicker form, and using that thickness to create a three-dimensional piece. This is not going to be a medium that I use with my fantasy art, so any paintings such as this one, where I've created it using multiple layers, and I've allowed the paint to dry, then gone back and painted over it. This painting took about a week. So any painting like this, my fantasy art, I'm not going to be using this medium. A medium that I'm more likely to reach for when I'm painting still life or a portrait or alla prima. I think that this will be really interesting to sort of play around with. The only other impasto medium that I have tested is the Gamblin Galkit gel, and that's a clear gel. This is a sort of greyish, almost clay type consistency. Putty, that's the word, a putty-like consistency, and it's very unique. It sort of feels like you could add your own medium as well to it. I'm pretty sure that other people have done that when I was looking at reviews of this. So you could mix that in as well. But it's definitely not something that will make your paints more fluid. And there is another medium that I would really like to try, which is cold wax medium. I'm so intrigued by that. I'll do a full-on review of this in a few weeks when I've really tested it out properly. And next I just thought I'd quickly talk about my little dragon painting. I'm doing a series of dragon paintings. I'm so into painting dragons now. It's something that as I mentioned in my previous video, I sort of dreaded in the past because I think dragons look so beautiful in fantasy art. I find them incredible to look at, but I always dread painting them because I'm not so experienced with painting them, and I spent ages or hours and hours thinking of the composition and then sketching constantly, and I sometimes sketch directly onto hardboard and then try to rub it out, and if you try and rub out on hardboard it's always a disaster. So I finally got some dragony kind of look to my work that I'm happy with. So I do hope you enjoyed this speed paint. Please subscribe and also follow me on Instagram because it would be nice to see you there, and I will follow you back too. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the speed paint that is coming up now. Since I'm painting a dragon, I thought I would talk about favourite dragons in movies, in literature, because when I was creating this painting, I started to think about my favourite dragon, and my favourite dragon, I came to the conclusion, is probably Smaug, because he's the first dragon that I encountered as a child. And this purely came out of reading The Lord of the Rings. What happened was, when I was a kid, my teacher, his favourite book was The Lord of the Rings, and he said that it was too difficult for children to read, and he said that he would recommend it to the class, but he couldn't because we weren't clever enough to read it. And I think I was about 7 or 8 years old at the time, and I was extremely bookish, and I thought, hang on a second, if somebody says I can't read something, I'm going to read it. So I sought out the book from our local library and I read the whole thing, and I found it very, very easy to read. There were certain words that I didn't understand, but I had a dictionary, so I looked them up, and I found it very easy to read because Tolkien is such a brilliant writer that it's actually not hard for a child to understand. And I was surprised how easy it was to read at that time, and I really do recommend it for any age, that book. Now actually, funnily enough, The Lord of the Rings is pretty dark, but once I'd read The Lord of the Rings, I read The Hobbit because I really wanted to understand more about Middle-earth, and I just found it all so fascinating, and it's such a magical world. It really took me on a journey into this beautiful and amazing imagination of Tolkien. And when I read The Hobbit, I imagined the dragon Smaug to be completely different to how he comes across in the movie, in the Hobbit films. And I think that Peter Jackson's movies of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and all of them are absolutely incredible. I don't have any criticism towards them, but I just didn't imagine Smaug to look that way, because when I was a kid, I felt that The Hobbit was so magical and that The Lord of the Rings was very, very dark. And so I was expecting Smaug to be multicoloured in my head. For some reason, I expected him to have sort of close up, to have multiple colours, to be kind of shimmering or glistening in some way. And so when I saw the film, I was so surprised at how fearsome, how frightening Smaug came across. And I adore the way that Smaug comes across in the movie. But it was just so different to how I imagined. So it was so great to have both the book version and the film version in my head, And what I really like about Smaug as a villain is I just think he's so funny, and he's so arrogant, but yet you could probably make a deal with him. And I just love that kind of boastful, yet kind of evil genius type of character. So I do hope you like this painting. It wasn't easy because obviously I had to imagine every aspect of the dragon, and but I think it will soon get easier, and I will have another dragon coming soon. So I hope you like it, and take care, guys.